Hey guys, and welcome to the Working Money channel. Lex Moskovsky here posting this post BlackRock Forbes. Okay guys, get this. Before, if you guys remember, Forbes used to be very critical of cryptocurrencies, especially Bitcoin, essentially being paid off to support the prevailing narrative. Well, get this now, post BlackRock, since we've now gotten news that BlackRock is getting into Bitcoin, my, have they changed their tune? Bitcoin suddenly has become greener, helps third world countries, and is not being used by the baddies anymore. Everything you need to know about Bitcoin and the environment. So these are just some of the headlines now that Forbes is promoting. How Bitcoin helps civilians escape the war in Sudan. Bitcoin network to reduce more emissions than its energy source produces. And this one down here, terrorists, North Korea and other illicit actors move beyond Bitcoin. So just a perfect example here, a textbook example of how the narrative changes as soon as the big guys, i.e. in this case, BlackRock, has now decided that they are getting into Bitcoin. And, we've been keeping our eye on the alt market as well. This one from Benjamin Cohen here on Twitter. In July of 2019, altcoins were at the same valuation against Bitcoin than they are today. And you guys can see that here. We're just hovering in and around this mark here. And as you guys can see, way back in 2019, we were at that same valuation. What Benjamin Cohen goes on to say is that while timeframes do not have to align perfectly, this chart still suggests that altcoins could collectively drop another 40% against Bitcoin. So, guys, whether the altcoins drop or whether Bitcoin rallies up, it would be in the ratio, right? Money either flowing out of altcoins or flowing into Bitcoin would bring this ratio down. So dominance for altcoins could in fact drop. He is warning about this, also mentioning that it is called the altcoin reckoning for a reason. So again, just going back to this chart here, and he's saying, we could in fact see this support level again coming down another 40% here, as we've seen this trend just continue to cascade down. So we got to pay attention to the altcoin market. And guys, this is why I'm getting some money on the side, probably going to get into some of my last crypto positions within the next little bit, a couple of weeks or so. I'm not going to give a definitive timeline on that. The market is starting to move up. This is the total market. So this is the market including Bitcoin. Right now we're sitting at about $1.14 trillion, 1.139. The price of Bitcoin is staying relatively stagnant here at about $30,200. And what do we got for XRP? XRP it's up a little bit today, not by much. You can actually see it a little better here on the hourly. A little bit of a pop here within the last couple of hours for XRP. And the price for XRP is sitting right now at about 0.473. So the market is moving, guys. But Benjamin Cowen here bringing up a good point. We are still very, very early in this bull run. And, if you consider where we were back in July of 2019, compare it to July of 2023, we're literally at the exact same point when it comes to ratio, okay? Money into Bitcoin versus money into the rest of the altcoins. So, either one of two things is going to happen. Money flows into Bitcoin, which is very likely because Bitcoin is usually the one that takes off first. Then the altcoins follow. FOMO kicks in and people start pumping money into the alts. Or people could get very worried. Investors could get worried because of some more news that we get. Whatever, the SEC's clamping down on whoever this time, and money would come out of the altcoins and perhaps go into Bitcoin or maybe just sit dormant in investors' bank accounts. We don't know yet. Not to say that this will happen, but just taking a look at that chart, it is looking like it could. The other thing I wanted to bring up, the bubble is popping from Peter Brandt here. Amazing that crypto nerds who verbally debase USD hold assets via USDT. So he's talking about Tether via Binance, scam of the decade. So calling Binance out, apparently Tether has depegged over there on Binance. So it's trading right now at about 90, well, at least as of the time that he took this screen grab, it was trading at about 92 cents, where it is, supposed to be pegged to the US dollar. Let's just take a look real quickly here at Tether on Binance specifically. Yeah, we're still seeing it sitting in and around here. And that is roughly 91.3. So guys, that's not looking good for Tether or Binance for that matter. Let me just put it back here. And so it basically depegged, where was the 1-to-1? Roughly in here. So that is 1-to-1. As you guys can see, that line is where we saw 1-to-1. And, basically since June 21st, we have seen this slowly move down, did go down as low as about 88 cents, and that was due to Binance news. So another thing to be paying attention to, guys. However, positive news here that I think as XRP holders should make us pretty excited. Data is showing that big investors purchasing billions of XRP have been doing so since February. So this one coming from Ian Binns here on Twitter, bringing up this article amid the market volatility. On-chain data suggests wealthy XRP investors have continued to amass large amounts of XRP since late February. So just going back to the XRP chart here, let's just look up February, bringing it on the daily. February would bring us in and around here, okay? So this is the area of February, in and around here. This is essentially when we saw that new higher low, and then boom, a pop. But it was in and around this period of time, guys, that we started to see investors heavily investing in XRP and have been consistently. So that is positive. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the reason is because of the verdict of the lawsuit, waiting for this pop off top. The Nike swoosh pattern, right? They're kind of getting here at the end of the Nike swoosh pattern, waiting for that huge move up. So this amassing of more XRP tokens since February has been confirmed on chain. That's what the data confirms here. Ali Martinez, a notable crypto chartist, first drew public attention to this bullish trend in a recent tweet. He wrote this here, guys. Ripple whales have purchased over 1.1 billion XRP since late February. That is worth about $570 million. So guys, that is great news. Compared to the rest of the crypto space, obviously these investors are realizing XRP is likely going to pop based on the news, and that could even have an effect on the rest of the crypto market. I think it could get the FOMO rolling. Citing data from the blockchain analytics tool Santiment, Ali pointed out that large whale investors holding between 10 million and 100 million XRP have accumulated a whopping 1.1 billion XRP tokens, and it looks as though Santiment's XRP charts substantiates this claim. Notably, data suggests that these deep-pocketed addresses have augmented their collective balance since it dropped to a one-year low in late February. So the other notable thing here is that these are deep-pocketed whales. These are people who hold lots of XRP to begin with, 10 million to 100 million. So these are the wallets that they're analyzing here. It could also mean that these investors are waiting for something even bigger to happen, guys. We know FedNow is launching later this month, and the Treasury Secretary, Janet Yellen, came out and said this recently: BRICS currency won't threaten US dollar dominance. However, when Janet Yellen's now coming out and saying things like this, I'm feeling like less and less people are believing it. So, here's what she said. Okay, dominance is not being threatened. She does not see the US dollar dominance being threatened, including the proposed BRICS currency. Yellen stressed that the data of which she is aware shows that the dollar is overwhelmingly used in international transactions. Well, I mean, it is currently right this second. However, we have gotten news that the BRICS nations are developing this currency. We've been getting dates. A lot of this is still speculation. Janet Yellen on BRICS currency challenges to US dollar dominance. She also addressed these concerns regarding the dominance of the US dollar and the potential challenges by the proposed BRICS currency during a press conference in Beijing. Well, there has been no official announcement by the BRICS nations. Speculation about a new BRICS currency has been rife after Russian news outlets reported it on RT. So that was the big speculative announcement on Russian news. But she says, I don't see that role being threatened by any development, including the one that you've mentioned, as I've said previously, and would reiterate that because of the role of the US dollar and its ability to enable us to implement sanctions, there certainly is motivation in countries around the world to find an alternative. So she is saying that countries around the world are still looking for alternative methods because the US can impose sanctions with their dollar dominance. All of the data in which I'm aware shows that the dollar is overwhelmingly close to 90% used in international transactions, and I don't think that there is an alternative that could possibly displace that for the foreseeable future. Well, technology moves fast, Janet, and I think you'd be surprised how quickly the BRICS nations could take over, could replace US dominance just based on the implementation of something like RippleNet DLT technology alone, and leveraging cryptocurrencies like XRP to serve as liquidity tools if in fact they do create a BRICS currency. But at the end of the day, they don't even really need one because they can convert their own fiat currencies leveraging the power of cryptos like XRP. Santosumo Saba also pointed this out. Okay, so just kind of talking about the BRICS nations developing that new currency. It has been confirmed here by Leslie Mastor, VP and CFO of the BRICS New Developments Banks. He addresses the rumor that's been circulating. Listen to this.
No one is suggesting right now that BRICS will form an alternate currency. All we are suggesting is that we need to deepen the use of local currencies of our member countries, and over time that is going to strengthen our ability to immunize or insulate our economies from the devaluation of our currencies if we borrow in dollars, for example. But there is no suggestion right now to create a BRICS currency in that sense. And the first point to make is that the New Development Bank has US dollar as its anchor currency. Our balance sheet is in US dollars. We are firmly embedded in the US dollar hemisphere, if you like. I think the development of anything alternative is indeed, a medium, more longer term ambition. If you take one step back and you imagine what it was like in 1944 when the current global financial architecture that we have today was created with the formation of the World Bank and the IMF. If we were to have a similar Bretton Woods conference today, it is highly unlikely that it will be anchored by a single currency. So all we are saying really amongst the BRICS countries is that we need to reimagine what a world that is more appropriate to the conditions of today would look like. And it certainly would mean that emerging market currencies will play a bigger role. The Chinese renminbi, for example, which is, as you know, now part of the special drawing rights, it is growing as a currency of trade, but it's still a long way off from becoming a reserve currency. So it's going to take a very long time for currency movements to take shape. So any discussion of alternate currencies is indeed much more of a medium, longer term.
So alternative currencies are going to find their place in the medium to longer term, but he did say, moving into this new emerging, you heard it, moving into this new emerging world where new technology is developed and, so many different types of things of value now can be traded, it's very unlikely that we're going to have one currency where all the trade happens through, i.e., has been the US dollar for the last 100 years or so, 80 years, give or take. So he's essentially speaking to DLT technology, RippleNet, cryptocurrencies like XRP and XLM to source for that liquidity. That is exactly what Leslie Masdorp here is talking about, and he is the VP and CFO of the BRICS New Development Bank. So an interesting observation there. Ben Rickard here also posted this. So BRICS will cover over 40% of the global population, are major producers of essential commodities. Most countries within the trading bloc are now reluctant to accept USD fiat money for their real goods and have collectively formed the conclusion: our commodity, your problem. Another clip here of Janet Yellen. Jeff down here saying, the world's GDP shared by the BRICS and want be list is growing daily now. It's easily exceeding 50%. The alarm clock is ringing and the US needs to wake up. Rory down here saying Russia and China, very trustworthy custodians of the reserve currency. Trade in gold or BTC, says Anon Frontiersman. Akun, the Moon Commander, saying, isn't this the same lady that once said the banking system is sound? Well, you got to be very, very careful trusting politicians when they talk about anything of importance, really. And people are realizing it. Watcher Guru also posted this, an interesting chart here of BRICS versus the G7 countries, and it's one of those graphs that go through time. You can see here, beginning in 1996 and going through the years, you can see how the G7 dominance has dropped compared to BRICS dominance. You can see BRICS gradually moving up, G7 gradually moving down, and this is the GDP at purchasing power of parity percentage of the world total. You can see by the 2010s, they're getting very, very close together here. 32% and 28% respectively. And then by 2015, 2016, they started to even out a bit. And then by 2019, 2020, that's when the crossover hit. So you can see here, after 2023, we have a forecast and the projected trajectory for these two regions spreading out and getting further and further away. And then it resets right there. So again, you can see BRICS dominance versus the G7 countries has been growing over time. And essentially by 2015, 2016, it was at parity. And they are forecasting that, we're going to see that shift continue to converge further and further apart. So wanted to thank Watcher Guru here and Ben Rickard, of course, Sento Sumo Saba on Twitter, Tim here for posting this, and everybody else, Ian Binns, for, posting a lot of this great information that we're getting today. XRP drops here, also bringing up this great clip, an oldie but a goodie. Jim Rickards told us about US dollar dominance and DLT technology way back in 2018. Okay, he knew what was going on back then. Listen to this.
The dollar is an encrypted digital asset. You might have a couple bucks in your pocket, but you don't really use it. You use credit cards, debit cards, direct pay. You pay your bills automatically. The whole FedWire system is all digital. Has been. The last paper treasury note was 1982, I think. So, and all that message traffic is encrypted. So the dollar is a digital cryptocurrency, which shows that, but it doesn't have a distributed ledger, that's the real innovation. That's what makes crypto is kind of interesting, is the digital distributed ledger, not the currency itself. And some of them, I think, have a future. The technology definitely has a future.
And so boom goes the dynamite. Some cryptocurrencies are going to have a future. It's basically the technology, though, that he sees as going to play a big importance moving forward. So again, I know some of you guys have probably already seen this clip, but I wanted to bring it back up today, considering where we're landing to with BRICS nations, dollar dominance in question, this concept of a BRICS currency coming over the horizon. Well, it's in development, but it's still not going to be dominant, at least not yet. But how close are we, guys? And have we been being warned from day one? BRICS versus G7, this one coming from Fojack here on Twitter, as the worlds collide. Now, let me remind you what Mr. Poole posted back in 2019. Guys, this feels like so long ago when you compare it to where, cryptocurrency utility, DLT technology has come from and where it is today. The time is near as clock strikes 1:05. The question is, will you be here right on time? As the worlds collide, you'll see the new era being born. The new world you'll see will hit you like a dream as cash becomes something you never thought it could ever be. Believe in XRP. Also this from 2020. Another warning that a new world is born as we collide. As cash continues to disappear before your own eyes and partnerships emerge of which you knew nothing about, the phoenix shall rise once the storm is over. You won't remember how you made it through, how you managed to survive. You won't even be sure whether the storm is truly over. And yet the strong will persevere at the end as the storm comes to a surprising and unexpected halt and the clouds clear out to your own surprise. Now, again, guys, this has to do with a financial system. I'm sure this cryptic message has to do with a lot of things, socio-political, but essentially with the financial system. The storm is not coming. It's already here among us. You're nearly out, and yet the worst is still on the horizon to come, isn't it? Or is it just an illusion in your mind? As time goes on, the only proof you need is in the past. Past proves the future, and yet future will always prove the past. This is the time to keep everything you know to yourself. Knowledge is power. However, that knowledge cannot stop what's coming no matter how hard you try. The plan is fully in motion and its initial phases are nearly all complete. So the BRICS nation, Mr. Poole, this cryptic message, perhaps we're going to see a black swan event. Perhaps that could take the price of certain cryptos up, down. Will altcoins move in a different direction? Guys, it's interesting. Listen closely to General Flynn. This was from Matt, XR Patriot here on Twitter. There could be a scenario where 2023 elections do not occur. So could this be part of this new world colliding? A new financial structure, a new financial system being put in place because of socio-political upheaval. Some other black swan type event occurs, or maybe there's a couple. Mr. Poole mentioned it, yes, 2024 will not occur. So Mr. Poole also mentioned this, 2024 will not occur. Another cryptic tweet that he posted back in April of 2022. Was he talking about the elections? Listen to this.
He doesn't know how that's going to happen. Wasn't speculating about exactly how something like that is going to happen, meaning, that the 2024 election doesn't occur. But that's pretty much what he said, was that he can see a scenario, as I can, a scenario that we don't have an election in 2024, that some other, and they call them black swans, some other black swan type event occurs, or maybe there's a couple of black swan.
Some other type of black swan event occurs. Maybe there's some other type of black swan that occurs sociopolitically. I mean, it could happen within the United States, but it could also be a global black swan that could affect the 2024 elections. The fact that we're getting all these warnings, though, and the fact that, he's called them since 2019 and probably even before that, worlds colliding, a possible black swan event, we've got the BRICS ramping up, we've got the rumor mill flowing, and we've got the largest amount of wealthy XRP investors investing $570 million in XRP since February. That is over 1.1 billion XRP, guys. That is over 1% of the total supply. So at 47 cents, I mean, it's looking like a steal of a deal. I hope you guys have secured your crypto positions. You can follow me on Patreon, patreon.com/workingmoneychannel. I'm going to let you in on what I'm trading. I'm diversifying in this cycle, still holding my XRP, my ALGO, my Bitcoin, and the others, of course, but I'm going to let you in on my trading plan there. If that's something you're interested in, guys, check it out. That's just my opinion. I want to hear what you guys think. Please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Like the video if you like the content I'm providing. I always love hearing your comments. See you in the next one, guys.